All right. For the audience that does not know you, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Aiesha Beasley. I am a content creator based in Phoenix, Arizona. A lot of people know me for my local series, Arizona Places, where I go to restaurants and, do fun activities around like the valley and beyond, really. So I'm always out and about to different places around Arizona.
So what got you started?
So I actually have a pretty unique social media story. I actually been doing social media for like over a decade. I had a blog, specifically on Tumblr. I was on Tumblr for a few years and, kind of started growing a micro following on there. I think around that time I had around 20,000 followers, which in the 2010s, was kind of like, especially early 2010s, it was like, I'm not gonna say unheard of because YouTube was, gaining a lot of traction, but it kind of was an unheard of thing to like have a following that size back then. And then I kind of stopped that for a couple of years. And then I got onto Instagram in like 2017, started to grow my platform on there. And my big break was TikTok. So I blew up on TikTok during COVID and started making short form videos like everyone else who was bored. And, at the time I was furloughed from my job. So basically like we were still employed, but we couldn't go to work. So we were getting basically the government payout that they were giving us for that. So I had a lot of time on my hands to make videos, and it kind of, transitioned into going back onto Instagram with Reels, and Reels kind of took off my account once, Instagram implemented Reels.
So, how has living in and exploring Arizona kind of shaped your perspective as a content creator?
Yeah, so I'm actually born and raised from here. So I grew up in Tucson, and basically, like anyone else who grew up here, you just freaking hate it. Like I hated Arizona. I was ready to leave. My job brought me out to Phoenix, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do like 2 years Phoenix, then I'm done. I'm out of here. COVID hit. And I just kind of started the series Arizona Places when I moved out to Phoenix to really explore the valley and find like cute little coffee shops to take photos. And, back then before Reels was a thing, Instagram was a photo app. So I was always trying to scout cool spots, whether that was at restaurants or coffee shops or whatever, to take Instagram photos. And while I was taking like the Instagram photos, I was grabbing like story content, and then I just kind of piled that up into like a TikTok, and it took off. And it really made me appreciate Arizona, especially, the beauty, right? And I think over the last like 5 years since COVID, Arizona has grown so much. It's not the same place it was, especially Phoenix. It's just grown a lot. And I feel like there's way more to do. There's so much opportunity here now, and it's going to continue to grow with like all the things that are happening. So it really has made me appreciate, the state more.
Well, why was Arizona so successful? Because I don't feel like most people live in Arizona. I don't know that many people that live in Arizona. So like, why specifically Arizona? Why was it so successful?
I'm going to say this: during COVID and during the pandemic, I feel like what made the series so successful was, one, Arizona was one of the only states that was like wide open. Like I think we were on lockdown for maybe 6 weeks. So I would say by like May, like people could go to restaurants. Like it wasn't as strict as California and some of these other states that had like really strict COVID rules. So we were able to go out and about, and Arizona grew so much around the pandemic, just because a lot of people were just trying to flock out here. So I think people were trying to figure out what is there to do here, because the whole mindset is there's really nothing to do in Arizona, which is still, I mean, it's getting there. People kind of are starting to call Phoenix like a mini LA just because of all the growth we're seeing. But, I think it's just because it's been a hub for people moving that, it's, grown so much.
So let's talk more about some of the videos that you've made. And, so Specifically, let's talk about the hidden gems in Arizona that most tourists don't know about. Let's talk about that. What are some of the hidden gems of Arizona that you wish more tourists would visit?
I would say a good hidden gem, which was one of my very first early videos, was there's this like kind of ghost town called Bisbee, and it's very eclectic, very hippie. Like it's a really cool town. And so that was one of my first videos that blew up, and a lot of people didn't really know a lot about it. I think now that more, influencers are going there, like it's getting more traction now. But when I first started, a lot of people didn't know about Bisbee. Because when people like come to Arizona, they're going to the Grand Canyon, they're going to Sedona, they're coming to Phoenix, Scottsdale, and obviously those are more areas where there's a lot more tourists. And I think Bisbee is a very underrated. I also want to say Page, Arizona, because there's Antelope Canyon, which a lot of people know about, but I think most people flock to like Sedona or the Grand Canyon. So I would definitely say like Page and Antelope Canyon. I feel like for like the Valley, which is like, Phoenix, there's just like we have like such a big and growing food scene out here. It's getting crazy. A lot of celebrity chefs are flocking out here specifically to Scottsdale. So there's a lot of cool high-end restaurants coming, or they've been here like within the last few years. So I would say that.
Happens to the best of us. I muted myself. I was gonna say, what about the hiking spots? Do you ever go hiking? And let's talk about those. Like, do you think there are any great hiking spots?
Yeah, there is some good hiking spots. I would say a lot of people love a lot of the like hiking in Arizona, especially in Phoenix. One spot that people truly love out here is Camelback Mountain. That hike is just so freaking tough. I don't even bother trying to hike that, but it's a very popular hiking spot. I think, because we have such great weather 7 to 8 months out of the year, we've become a hub for people who are snowbirds. So people who live like on the East Coast that want to come out here when it's winter there, but we have like 70-degree weather, for the most of the year, minus the summer, which we are approaching. And we're hitting 90 degrees. Like this entire week, we're in the 90s already. So I'm like, our summer's here basically, which 90 is mild for us because we get into like the 120s. But yeah, I think hiking's really popular from like October to like March. That's our good window. And then we get hot again. So it's like, that's the best window to like hike, or else you don't want to be hiking in the summer. It's just miserable. You don't even want to be outside in the summer. We're like the opposite of snowbirds out here, like, or hibernation. People hibernate in the winter and they stay indoors. We stay indoors in the summer. Like we don't want to go outside.
So when you're making these videos, what does your creative process kind of look like? Like, what are you doing when you're making when you're thinking of how to make these videos? Because for me, I feel like, there's only so many things that you can do to make Arizona, the same state, kind of interesting. So it's like I don't know how you were able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's just basically showing a lot of my personality in my videos and kind of really giving them like a true POV from things I experience through my own personal lens, because there's a lot of creators all over the country or world or whatever that, they do those like kind of aesthetic videos. They kind of show the restaurant or they show the spot, but there's no real maybe voiceover. There's no personality behind it. And I think people genuinely love my content because it's me exploring my state and it's giving my own POV. So not only they're getting like, oh, kind of like a video review, but they're also like, okay, like I like this girl, like, she's super cool, she's sharing her experience. And I'm getting DMs all the time from people who are thinking about moving to Arizona and they appreciate my page because it's like, okay, like it's someone who lives here. She's giving her own scope on her own life living here. And I think that's it has attracted a lot of like viewers to my page.
So when it comes to scouting some of these places out, how, like, are you asking people ever, like, hey, like, what do you think of this place? What's a good place I should try? Are you ever doing that, like recommendations from friends?
A little bit, like I would say a little bit of recommendations from friends. I'll take recommendations from followers, or, in my beginning days, it was me just trying to research Google or search on social media myself to find out like what's cool, like what is my vibe. And I would kind of discover places myself. Now I'm kind of at the point where there's so many PR agencies and brands that are reaching out, and restaurants are reaching out to me. They're like, hey, we're about to open. Do you want to check us out? So I'm getting a lot of that as well, to where I don't have to put in as much legwork to like discover new restaurants, to discover new activities that are, popping off out here. So I think now once you kind of grow that platform, kind of those recs and those leads come to you. But I'm still searching like for places, like if I'm going to Tucson or if I'm going to Flagstaff, which is up north, like I don't live there. So I'm going to be kind of doing my own, more so my own research on those places. But like out in Phoenix, Phoenix and Scottsdale, I'm always getting, businesses and places reaching out to cover their, their spot.
What's the coolest benefit you've gotten out of being a travel influencer, basically?
Staying at nice hotels. Like I stayed there. There's this all-inclusive resort about 40 minutes from Phoenix, and it's like $2,000 to $3,000 a night. And it's all inclusive. So it was like all our meals included, 24/7 butler. Like it's insane. I saw two like extremely rich people just fly in on a helicopter, like down onto the resort. Like I saw a huge celebrity staying there. I legally can't say their name because their own hotel. Like when I was like going to talk about this rapper that was staying at this all-inclusive resort, they're like, you need to take your story down. Like they DM'd me immediately to take my story down. So I don't think they want me to tell who exactly stays there, but there's like a lot of high profile like celebrities and rich people that stay at this all-inclusive resort called Castle Hot Springs. Yeah, it was really nice. So those perks, like eating at very nice restaurants, that are like $500 meals. I'm actually going to this exclusive tonight. I'm going to this exclusive club, but it's a restaurant inside the Phoenix Suns arena. It's called the Rah Rah Room, and it's a $15,000 membership to dine at this restaurant. So it's like stuff like that, to where it's like you get these very exclusive experiences to where I would never be able to afford that unless I was like a multimillionaire. Is really cool.
So what's it called? So that one particular rapper, I'm gonna like think about like a funny way to ask it. Does his Instagram handle have anything to do with alcohol?
It might, he's pretty famous. I can't a lot of, he's been in movies. He's a rapper. Like he's kind of been very multifaceted over the last probably like 10 to 15 years.
Well, if I don't think if I type this in chat, it'll come up.
And apparently from our chauffeur we had, because I went with my boyfriend, he goes there all the time. So he's he'll go there a few times a year. But yeah, they're like, you need to keep guest privacy. Like we value guest privacy. I was like, and the funny thing is I didn't even say his name in my Instagram story. I just played his song. I played his song and they caught me. Oh no, I can't see it. Oh my gosh. I don't know.
I'm trying to wait. Because the thing is, like, it won't show on video. Like, if you're talking, so I can't talk. So, like, because if you talk, then it'll be your screen on the video. So, say something.
Hello. Oh, he's been out here before. He was talking about trying to buy a house out here in Paradise Valley, which is a very very exclusive area near Scottsdale. So, but he's
but he's not the rapper.
No.
Okay. Has he been like particularly controversial in recent times?
No.
Okay, you know who I'm referring to, right?
Yes, I know who you're referring to. Probably
Okay,
the lot of the beef that happened last year.
so it's not Drake or Diddy.
No, not Drake or Diddy. Yeah.
Okay, but all right. I'm just thinking of like other ways to ask the question. Does his name have anything to do with food?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say Eminem.
Yeah.
No, so it's not him. Wow. Okay, I'm really struggling.
Uh-huh.
I'll just ask you later. No, it's just I have to know this now.
Yeah, no, he was staying there, and I mean, it was cool to see him. And
Does his name have anything to do with money?
his name doesn't have anything to do with money, but he's talked about it. I mean, I feel like most rappers talk about it in their songs, something about money and girls.
Well, that's everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, he's I can't really say
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll ask you later. Who is the most famous person that you got to meet? Did you get to meet that person at least?
Yeah, so I got to meet him briefly because when we were getting our tour in the very beginning, our little chauffeur driver in the golf cart was taking us around the property, and then he came up and he's like, "Hey, can I get a ride with you back to my room?" In our little golf cart thing, and the guy's like, "Yeah, sure." And so we got to briefly chat with him.
Positive experience.
Yeah, he seemed really nice. The only thing that was weird was when when we were having dinner later on that day, I'm getting my clips. So like I'm an influencer. I got to get my clips. I'm, panning around. He's like sitting at a table with his posse, his group. And I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to get clips of you. I'm here for me. So I think he thought I was trying to like sneak some footage of him. And I was like, that wasn't the case.
That was not the case. Yes.
Wasn't the case, no, but he seemed really nice. And I get it, celebrities are there to have their time and have their privacy, and going to something exclusive like that where the barrier to entry is like 2 to 3 a night, they're not expecting people to be just like out with their phones and cameras. So yeah, but I get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, let's talk about times you've gotten recognized. Have you ever gotten recognized, and how was it?
I get recognized quite a bit out here just because I'm such a local creator. So I'll, people be like, "Oh my gosh, I've seen your videos," or "Your Arizona places," or, "I've seen this restaurant you did." So I get that quite often. And it's so cool. Everybody's been so nice. I haven't really had any super weird experiences meeting followers or meeting people who've seen my videos. It's been overall positive. I think, it is a little still strange to me because I just feel like a regular person. Yes, I have a platform, I do content creation, but I feel so regular. I don't feel like a celebrity. So sometimes it is a little awkward when people want photos because I'm like, I'm just a girl. Like, I'm not, anything special. I just post online. But yeah, I think it's, I'm very grateful to all the people I've met throughout this journey I've been on. So it's been super cool.
So I think for one of my last questions I want to ask, this is gonna be a shorter interview. What advice would you give to young people?
I would say just go for it. Take risks and, take the leap. If you want to do content, like start posting. I think a lot of people overthink it, and the only way you're going to get better at it is to post, right? Like, you weren't probably perfect when you first started doing this, it just, you got to put yourself out there. And I think this is such a great time to like put yourself out there and, do content creation and kind of follow your dreams, whatever that is. And even if that goal isn't to become an influencer, I read something yesterday that what you're posting is your online resume. So like, even in you posting and sharing certain things can lead to so many opportunities just in your own job and your career. So I think that like you should follow your dreams and do it. Cause I know I waited quite a long time before taking the leap and quitting my job to do this. And there's times I'm like, man, I wish I could have done this sooner, but you know, it's all in divine timing at the end of the day. But yeah, if you're young, take the leap.
All right. My other last question. How old do you think I am?
I'm gonna say so mid-20s, early 20s.
Nope. 18. 18.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yep.
I was thinking early 20s, like 20, 22.
I'll take that as a compliment. I'll take that as a compliment. At my age, this is one of the few ages where getting called old is considering a compliment. So
yeah, it's a flex for sure. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you're doing this. That's so cool.
Thank you. All right. And with that being said, stop the recording. We'll talk after the show in 3, 2,